Good morning, authors and soon-to-be authors. My name is Stephanie Perucci. I'm the founder and CEO at Perucci Publishing. Today, you're going to enjoy part one of a four-part video series. I'm going to keep these very short, and we're going to go through 20 different ways to make your nonfiction book a page-turning bestseller, because most nonfiction books, I'm going to admit, are very boring. And in the last 12 years that people have given me manuscripts, I have found that most of what I read is mind-numbingly boring. So we're going to start with part one today, but before I commence and give you the first 5 ways that you can make your nonfiction book a page-turning bestseller instead of boring, I want you to like and subscribe, hit the notifications every time I post something new to help you become a best-selling author, especially in the nonfiction space. Because nonfiction books are this magical way that you can really establish credibility and authority in your field. People buy more and pay more, and that's good. Using books as a business tool, as a lead generation tool, is a phenomenal way to show the world that you have something that can help them. So let's get started. The first way that you make a nonfiction book a page-turning bestseller instead of a bore is to focus instead of the bird's eye view. I want you to take a microscope and look at one very specific phenomenon that you have used in your career or in your path or in your journey to help people. I'm going to use the example of a book that we're writing right now called Human-Centered Leadership: Give Your Employees a Reason to Live. This book is specifically targeted for government organizations. The author, Glenn, found that over 35 years of working in government, the worst thing that he observed was that people were depressed, that people were suicidal, that people didn't have purpose and passion for what they did. And when your employees don't have purpose and passion for what they're doing, and they're just getting a steady government paycheck, guess what? They go postal and you lose profitability. And that's a great way that Glenn could take an otherwise boring story of working in government and talk about how he's actually uncovered the code to giving your employees such tremendous passion and purpose in what they do that it doesn't just heal them, but it heals their entire families. It's a phenomenal book. It will probably make you cry. It's so good. And so I cannot wait. We're going to soon be releasing, maybe we've already released it at the time you're watching this video, Glenn Akramoff's Human-Centered Leadership: Giving Your Employees a Reason to Live. Number 2 thing you can do to make your nonfiction book a page turner and not a bore is to focus on something that's shocking or disruptive. So what I mean by this is best illustrated by the book You Can't Fall Off the Floor by author Jamie Prickett. Jamie decided that after 35 years his wife and him spent in the financial services industry, that something needed to change and that he had the cojones to change it. He's disrupting an entire stale, pale male industry that generally really poops on the agents, the employees, the financial services advisors. He's completely disrupting that, and he's going to change the face of financial services forever. Everyone within the next 5 to 7 years will know Experior Financial Group because of the progressive, disruptive way that Jamie and Leanne have built their company. Is that more exciting than a story where Jamie would have just said, yeah, I built a $50 million business and here's how I did it? No! We want to know how this business is changing the face of the entire world. The third way that you can really write a page-turning bestseller instead of a bore with your nonfiction book is to focus on one very specific methodology. A lot of nonfiction authors are reticent, they're resistant to doing this because they don't want to give away their best stuff. But the cool thing is you can give away your best stuff like I often do on YouTube Shameless plug. And people are going to want more. They're still going to hire you. They're still going to want you as their business coach or their provider for a service or a product, because even though they're listening to your engaging best stuff or reading about your engaging best stuff on social media or in a book, it doesn't mean they're going to get down, roll up their sleeves, and do it without your help. So don't think that giving your best stuff away is going to make you less valuable to your end user or client. An example that I have of this is my client, Billy Thompson. The book that we're working on right now, it discusses a model that he has used to build several multi-million-dollar businesses to basically be the only sole direct marketing advisor for large companies such as Home Depot during the pandemic, no less, when a lot of people were not even leaving their homes, sadly. And Billy has taken this cost versus value model and he's tethered it throughout the entire book in such a remarkable way. From stories about his dad, stories about his grandpa, stories about his mom, his sisters, his entire life is tethered to this cost versus value model, methodology, formula, system. But don't give us your entire business coaching process. Don't give us a laundry list of every single model that you use in your coaching practice. Give us one succinct methodology, formula, or model that will really truly impact our lives, because you're going over it over 200 pages. We're going to get it in our thick skulls. Don't try to give us too much, okay? So that's a big problem that nonfiction authors have, is they try to cram their entire coaching system or business system or methodology or, and then it just sounds like an employee manual and it's boring. Give us sexy stories about one formula or model. Think about how Malcolm Gladwell just looks at tipping point or blink. He just takes a specific phenomenon and focuses on that phenomenon throughout the entire book, and then it really sticks. Number 4, in 5 ways to make your nonfiction book, usually a business book, not suck, is what Don Holly Johnson did and what CEOs need to know. What CEOs need to know is a story of Don Holly's experience creating $8 billion in revenue for several large companies, most of whom she can't say in the book. But she goes through the book and tells you how she generated $8 billion worth of revenue, because she understands things that the CEOs don't understand. And there's a lot of reasons that the CEOs don't have the data that they need to make decisions that impact the bottom line and ultimately impact the customers they want to bless with their businesses. So Don Holly took this phenomenal progressive approach to her nonfiction book where she's unveiling the secrets, because there's stuff you don't know. Who doesn't want to get in and look under the hood and see how things really work, as opposed to saying, I generated a bunch of revenue because I'm so great. What Holly did was she said, I helped generate this revenue for these businesses because there's things you don't realize about your business, and I'm going in this book to give you the flashlight so that next time you walk into that boardroom, you can see every creepy crawly thing in there, the stuff that you're not even aware of. And she's giving us those secrets in her book. Number 5, and then I'll wrap up this part of my series on how to make your nonfiction books page-turning bestsellers and not bores. Number 5 is the success story with one very unique elixir. And so I'm going to use the example of Lindsay Buboltz. Lindsay Buboltz wrote a book called Coffee Saved My Life. She had an average job, I think, in a government organization, local government. Her children were suffering. Her body was not healthy. She got depressed. And then when her daughter was murdered, she hit rock bottom. She didn't get out of bed. A woman that she honestly despised messaged her and said, I want you to try this coffee. And Lindsay thought this woman was a crackpot. But she tried the coffee. In 3 days, she was out of bed. And within 90 days, she had literally lost, I think, 100 pounds or something absolutely insane, because this coffee didn't just help her. It wasn't a weight loss drug, but it actually helped regulate her hormones. It helped her escape depression. It even helped her teenage son at the time get through the hard time and the depression and the suicidal thoughts that he was having. And so she talks not just about her story about I turned my life around, I did a 180 after I was depressed, but she's actually telling us why and what we can do as well to have these significant 180-degree turnarounds when we're going through hard times. And not only that, but she tells you how you can build your business around the coffee, which is another story. And you can find out more about that at lindsaybuboltz.com. I'm not incentivized to promote her, but I love her, and I think she did a great job with her book. Y'all, those are 5 different examples of how authors of mine have taken an otherwise boring nonfiction book and made it a page-turning bestseller. The number one worst thing you can do with your nonfiction book, unless you're a celebrity, is to write a memoir. No one cares about your memoir. And so I want you to focus on what you can give the reader. And today we talked about not doing the bird's eye view, holding up a microscope, being shocking or disruptive, using one formula system methodology, opening the kimono and letting people know what they don't know and how they can identify things to make their lives better. And number 5, a success story with a unique tweak that becomes the hero of the story. You're not the hero of the story, but you're giving the recognition to something that, in Lindsay's story, saved her life. These are 5 ways, and I'm going to give you 15 more over the course of this YouTube series called Ways to Make Your Nonfiction Book a Page-Turning Bestseller and Not a Bore. I admit I came up with that on the spot. I didn't plan that out. So like, subscribe, comment, and of course email me anytime, Stephanie@pieruccipublishing.com, if you're looking to write a nonfiction book and you want it to be a page-turning bestseller and not a bore. That's what we're doing here. Thank you, guys.